Hey, it's August 24th, and we find ourselves in Jeremiah chapters 51 and 52. In Disney's Beauty and the Beast, when Beast is starting to fall in love with Belle, he decides he wants to do something special for her. Cogsworth starts listing off the usual ways of expressing love: flowers, chocolates, promises you don't intend to keep. I still wince every time I hear that last one. People have made and broken so many promises that the saying "promises were made to be broken" has become a modern-day proverb. But God is not like people. He keeps his promises, as we'll see in today's passage. In chapter 51, Jeremiah describes the destruction that will come upon Babylon because, in verse 5, God says, "For Israel and Judah have not been forsaken by their God." In verse 11, God gives the destruction of the temple as one of the many reasons why he was going to destroy Babylon. And at the end of the chapter, Jeremiah gives a copy of all these things to Seraiah, who went with Zedekiah to Babylon. Jeremiah tells Seraiah to read all these to Babylon and then tie it to a stone and throw it in the Euphrates River as a symbol of how Babylon will sink, never to rise again. And chapter 52 summarizes Zedekiah's reign and the final fall of Jerusalem, which we also read about in Jeremiah chapters 39 and 40, as well as the end of 2 Kings and 2 Chronicles. So what can we take away from today's passage? God's promise to Abraham and his descendants was an unconditional promise. No matter how much the Jews broke God's law, God's promise to give them the promised land, make them into a great nation, and be a blessing to the world still stands. God would bring them back in 444 BC with the Persians. They would be scattered again by the Romans in 70 AD, and then after almost 2,000 years, God brought them back to Israel once again in 1948. No other nation has ever come back into existence like Israel has. Israel's existence today is prophecy being fulfilled in our own lifetime. In the same way, God's promise of salvation to anyone who believes by faith in Jesus' death and resurrection for the forgiveness of their sins is unconditional. No matter what you've done, no matter what you will do in the future, if you have truly placed your faith in Jesus, all of your sins, past, present, and future, have been forgiven. Don't ever be tempted to think that you've done something to cause God not to love you and save you. Just like God is keeping all of his promises to Israel, he keeps all of his promises to his children as well. My prayer for us today is that we would find comfort in all of God's promises to us. He's never failed to keep them in the past, and he won't fail to keep them now or ever. If you haven't done so already, please download a Through the Bible reading plan at HesperiaCommunityChurch.org/throughthebible. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you again soon.